Chapter 565. Lin Jiej raised his head from the computer screen and glanced at Shi Yao. "I'm fine," Shi Yao replied with an "oh." Seeing that Lin Jiej had returned his attention back to the computer, she plugged in her earphones and went to play with Desolate Year. In the end, Shi Yao was still afraid that she would disturb Lin Jiej, so she didn't speak much throughout the game. Even when she had to speak, she did so in a soft voice. Back when Lin Jiej was still in junior high, he could already play games on the computer while doing his homework. So, to the current him, it was a walk in the park for him to work on his project while listening to Shi Yao's words. The atmosphere on the balcony was very harmonious. The sound of Lin Jiej's typing on the keyboard and Shi Yao's soft and mellow voice mixed together, creating a tranquil and peaceful atmosphere. Time always passed quickly when one was in the game or at work, and before they knew it, it was already 11 at night. After ending a game, Shi Yao turned to Desolate Year and said, "It's getting late, so I'm not playing anymore." Desolate Year didn't try to persuade her to stay. He simply replied, "All right." Shi Yao bade him goodbye and was just about to leave the room when Desolate Year's voice sounded in her earphones once more. "Right, Yao?" Shi Yao hurriedly retracted her finger from the screen and asked, "What's wrong?" "Desolate Year, do you still remember what we agreed on that night when we stayed in the same hotel in Shenzhen?" Shi Yao pondered for a moment before recalling that she was going to report to school tomorrow, so she asked, "Are you talking about the meeting?" On the balcony, Lin Jiej heard Shi Yao's words, and his typing on the keyboard slowed down. That wild man was still thinking of meeting Soft Bun after obtaining Desolate Year, little cutie? Desolate Year. Yes, that's it. I'll be heading to your school early tomorrow afternoon. However, didn't we agree on having dinner at the canteen? Tian told me that she wants to eat hot pot, and there's an authentic hot pot restaurant near your school called Spicy Hot Pot. Do you know about it? Let's eat there tomorrow, all right? Even though it wasn't the location they had agreed on, considering that there were classmates she knew there, and it was a hot pot restaurant that she was familiar with, Shi Yao didn't think too much about it. "Sure, let's have hot pot tomorrow then." Shi Yao paused for a moment before asking, "What time?" "Desolation. Probably between 7 and 8 o'clock. Is that okay?" Shi Yao. "No. I'll see you tomorrow night between 7 to 8. 7 o'clock in the evening to 8 o'clock. That late?" The frown on Lin Jiej's forehead deepened, and even his fingers, which were swiftly tapping away on the keyboard, suddenly froze. After ending her conversation with Desolate Year, Shi Yao put away her phone, stood up, stretched her back, and decided to take a bath. Before leaving, she shot a glance at Lin Jiej and asked, "Are you still busy?" Hearing those words, Lin Jiej hurriedly reined in his thoughts regarding his meeting with Shi Yao during the Desolate Era and replied, "I'm still lacking? All right then, rest early after you're done with your work. You just had a fever last night, so don't sleep too late today. I'm going to take a shower." Lin Jiej replied with a gentle before adding a good night. Shi Yao replied with a good night before pushing open the door to the balcony and returning to her bedroom. When the curtains on Shi Yao's side were drawn, the light from her balcony instantly dimmed. Lin Jiej immediately took out his phone and logged into Desolate Year, little cutie's game account. Chapter 566. Desolate Years was still in the game, and he hadn't gone offline yet. Lin Jiej tapped on his name and sent him a blushing smiley emoji. Soon, a game invite from Desolate Years popped up on Lin Jiej's phone screen. Lin Jiej wasn't in a hurry to accept it. Instead, he found his earphones and plugged them into his ears before turning on the voice changer. After making sure that everything was ready, he entered Desolate Years' game room. "Desolate Years, little cutie, didn't you say that you're going to start school soon and that you're busy catching up on your homework? Why are you online now?" Fearing that his conversation on the balcony would be overheard by Shi Yao, Lin Jiej returned to his room with his laptop and locked all the doors and windows. Then, he lowered his voice and spoke into the voice changer. "I've done 8 papers today, and my hands are about to break." In order to make his words sound coquettish, Lin Jiej gritted his teeth and added, "N.I. Desolate Years, is it really that hard? What a pitiful little cutie. Let me help you rub it." "Rub your head, you perverted man." Lin Jiej cursed viciously in his heart, but an incredibly adorable came out of his mouth. Desolate years started the game, and after entering the island, he spoke up once more. Little cutie, do you girls like to speak with such a tone? Soft and cute, very likable? Lin Jiej wasn't able to comprehend what desolate years was referring to, so he feigned ignorance and asked, what do you mean? Desolate years, it's, Do you still remember Yaoshi? The two of you used to play together, and just like you, she likes to, And your tone is exactly the same. Of course, how could he possibly not know his wife? Besides, what's wrong with having the same tone? This is called the husband following the wife. Lin Jiej lowered his eyelids and replied, is that so? I didn't even notice it. Desolate years, yes, but your voice sounds better than Yaoshi's. Hee hee. You'll probably say that your voice sounds better than little cuties in front of Softbun, right? You're really a fickle man. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej chuckled awkwardly at the voice changer. Desolation. Little cutie, you look so cute when you smile. How adorable. Lin Jiej raised his head to look at the makeup mirror not too far away. If you want to know who this little cutie is, let's see if you can still say the word cute. Just like before, Lin Jiej chuckled sheepishly. It was fortunate that Lin Jiej had defined Little Cutie of the Desolate Years as a character that was a deep hole in the game. Thus, even though he could only move a single hand at the moment, he was still able to maneuver his way through the game like a fish in water. Just as he was nearing the end of a round, Lin Jiej suddenly spoke up, I can only play one round. I'm going to wash up and sleep later. Wash clean? Who coined this phrase? And he even logged in some cute girl's quote. So cold. Hearing his own words, Lin Jiej felt goosebumps rising all over his body. Desolation. Are you sleeping so early? Little cutie in the desolate years. Yeah. I'm taking the train to Beijing tomorrow. Chapter 567. Desolation. Beijing? Hearing desolate years' surprised tone, Lin Jiej knew that he had dug a trap successfully. Feigning ignorance about desolate year, he continued speaking. That's right. School is starting soon, so I have to return to school. However, I bought the train ticket late, so I can only head to Beijing first. I'll stay there for a night before heading to Hangzhou. Lin Jiej paused for a moment before adding, but I've never been to Beijing before, so I'm a little scared. I don't even know if I'll be able to find the hotel I booked. Scared? You must be joking. He was born and raised in Beijing. Putting aside finding a hotel, even if he was looking for a person, he would still be able to walk around the entire city without repeating himself. Hearing those words, desolation, spoke up, cutie, you might not believe me, but I'm in Beijing right now. Knowing that desolation was in Beijing, Lin Jiej couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment, that's great. Following which, Lin Jiej's astonishment turned into delight. Then, Big Brother Nian, can I look for you when I arrive in Beijing tomorrow? Desolation. Sure. Lin Jiej chuckled happily. Then, with a conflicted look on his face, he asked, but I don't know how I should look for you. Where should I go after I leave the train station? Which subway number or bus should I take? Lin Jiej paused for a moment before asking, will I get lost? Beijing is so big. I'm really scared. Desolation was silent for 2 seconds on the other end of the game, as if he was contemplating something. A moment later, he said, why don't we do this instead? I won't be live streaming tomorrow anyway. Tell me what time your train ticket is, and I'll pick you up at the train station. Desolation's little cutie. Can I really do that? 3 seconds later, Desolation's little cutie. Isn't that a little too troublesome? Big Brother Nian. Desolation seemed to enjoy Lin Jiej calling him Big Brother Nian. Upon hearing those words, he immediately replied, no. How could it be troublesome? It's my honor to pick you up. Having wanted Desolation to pick him up, Lin Jiej didn't turn it down. Thank you, Big Brother Nian. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Jiej added, to express my gratitude, I'll treat you to a meal tomorrow. Desolation. I'll treat you to a meal. I'll never let a girl spend money on me. Oh, this fickle wild man sure is chauvinistic, Lin Jiej. All right then. Thank you, Brother Nian. He paused for a moment before adding, I'll be at the train station at around 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. Desolation. 6:30. Knowing that he had a dinner date with Shi Yao tomorrow, Lin Jie feigned ignorance and asked, "What's wrong? Brother Nian, are you busy at 6:30?" Without waiting for Desolate Year to speak, Lin Jie continued, "I live near the train station, but I've never stayed in a hotel before. Brother Nian, can you accompany me in the hotel for a while tomorrow night?" Chapter 568. With this thought in mind, Lin Jie added, "Big Brother Nian, I don't mean anything by it. I'm just afraid that there's a ghost in a hotel. Desolation. Little cutie, don't be afraid. I'll accompany you tomorrow night." Heh, just as I thought. He's an old pervert. He must be up to no good by asking Soft Bun out so tirelessly. Who knows, he might just drug Soft Bun or something to frame her. He could just direct his lustful thoughts at me. As for Soft Bun, don't even think about it. Lin Jie's eyes flickered for a moment before he replied with a gentle voice, "It's great to have Big Brother Nian. Big Brother Nian, let's meet at the train station tomorrow." Desolation. Done. See you there, cutie. Seeing that his plan had worked, Lin Jie bade farewell to Desolation Time and logged out of the game after the round was over. Putting down his phone and removing his earphones, Lin Jie didn't continue working on the interrupted project. Instead, he walked to the bedroom next door and knocked on the door politely. "Come in." Only when Shi Yao's voice sounded from within did Lin Jie push the door open. The girl was already done bathing, and she was dressed in pink pajamas with a face mask on. She was sitting cross-legged on the bed, watching television on her phone. Upon seeing him enter, she immediately turned to look at him and asked, "What's wrong?" Lin Jie raised his injured arm slightly. "I'm here to ask for your help." After a moment of silence, Lin Jie briefly mentioned the matter he needed help with. "I haven't bathed yet." Shi Yao immediately realized that Lin Jie was asking her to help him undress and wrap up his injured arm with plastic wrap. She quickly replied with an "oh" before jumping off the bed, circling around Lin Jie and dashing toward the dining room. Lin Jie waited until Shi Yao's silhouette disappeared from the dining room before he rushed over to the bed and picked up her phone, which was still playing the television drama. He quickly returned to the main page and tapped into Shi Yao's WeChat. Seeing that there were no messages from Desolation, he quickly entered the game. Among the unread messages in the game, there was indeed a message that Desolation Year had left for Shi Yao a minute ago. "Yao Shi, I have something urgent to attend to tomorrow, so I won't be able to meet up with you. Shall we meet up another time? Yao Shi, you have to reply to my message when you see it. I'm really sorry this time." Without any hesitation, Lin Jie tapped on the screen and replied, "All right, I got it." Years of Desolation was still online. After seeing Shi Yao's reply, he immediately replied, "Yao, I'm really sorry. I'll treat you to a meal as compensation." Lin Jie swiftly tapped on the screen a few times before replying with a perfunctory mem, after which he deleted the conversation he had with Desolate Years through Shi Yao's phone before exiting the game. He returned to the video feed and returned the phone to its original place. After confirming that he hadn't exposed himself, he quickly backed out of Shi Yao's bedroom and returned to his own. He sat on the sofa, picked up his laptop, and placed it on his knees. Just as he was about to enter the password, the bedroom door suddenly opened, and Shi Yao walked in with a plastic wrap in hand. Chapter 569. Give me a minute. Lin Jie seemed to be very busy. After hurriedly leaving those words behind, he turned his attention back to his laptop. His fingers swiftly tapped on the screen for a moment before he finally came to a stop. Then, as if checking for a problem, he stared at the screen for a while longer before closing the laptop and walking over to Shi Yao. Just like last night, after Shi Yao helped Lin Jie take off his clothes, her face couldn't help but burn up. Nevertheless, it wasn't her first time seeing his naked upper body, so she was still able to maintain her composure. At the very least, when she was wrapping the plastic wrap around his injured right arm, she wasn't as timid as she was the day before. While Lin Jie was bathing, Shi Yao ran back to her bedroom to grab her phone and continue watching her drama series. Roughly 10 minutes later, the bathroom door opened and Lin Jie walked out, still dripping wet and wrapped in a towel. Even though Shi Yao had already been shocked by such a bathing handsome man seen last night, she still couldn't help but feel a little unsettled when she saw it again. Lin Jie's figure was really good. It was just like those in the mangas, so breathtaking that it felt surreal. But speaking of which, wasn't she a glutton? Why did she suddenly become so obsessed with beauty? Could it be that Lin Jie had triggered her hidden, love-struck nature? Ah, no way. She was a person who had sworn to eat until the very end. She couldn't just turn into a pervert like that. But there was also a possibility that Lin Jie was delicious. Delicious? Delicious, your ass. Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head. Under Lin Jie's astonished gaze, she stood up and ran over to him. Without daring to meet his eyes, she removed the plastic wrap around his arm and helped him put on a clean set of clothes. Just like yesterday, she ran back to her bedroom. The two of them lived under the same roof for the second night. Nothing happened, and they both slept until dawn. The next day was the day they reported to the academy. As Lin Jie was injured, Shi Yao didn't feel at ease letting him go out alone. On top of that, she wasn't willing to drive his flashy sports car to school either. So, after lunch, she called for a Didi to fetch them to school. After entrusting Lin Jie to Lu Binlai and Xia Shangzhou, Shi Yao ran off to look for Leng Wan and the others. As a result, they bumped into each other again when they were lining up at the Academic Affairs office to register. In contrast to the sight of Xia Shangzhou greeting Shi Yao warmly, Lu Binlai walked straight up to Leng Wan and asked, "Are you all right?" Even though Lu Binlai hadn't met Leng Wan many times in the past, every time she tried to strike up a conversation with him, he would always end up getting rebuffed. But this time, after hearing Lu Binlai's words, Leng Wan fell silent for a moment before replying. Her tone wasn't as friendly as before, but it wasn't as cold as before. I'm fine now." A hint of delight flashed across Lu Binlai's eyes. Perhaps it was because Leng Wan was finally willing to talk to him normally. Lu Binlai stood in front of her for a long while before he finally spoke up. "It's good that you're fine." Chapter 570. Leng Wan looked at the porcelain bottle in Lu Binlai's hand, but she didn't take it. Lu Binlai had no intention of taking it back either. After a stalemate of roughly 30 seconds, Lu Binlai finally gave in. "Take it. I don't mean anything by it. Don't worry, I won't say anything. Since you took my medicine, I asked you to give me your phone number in exchange for it. I prepared this medicine for you, and I sincerely want to give it to you." Before Lu Binlai could finish his words, Leng Wan had already reached out to take the medicine from his hand and said, "Thank you." After thanking Lu Binlai, Leng Wan turned to Shi Yao, Jiang Yu, and He Tian, who were standing by the side, and asked, "Are you done signing the papers? If you're done, let's go." Jiang Yu and He Tian nodded in agreement. "Let's go." Shi Yao knew that Lin Jie would be returning home soon, so she didn't leave. Instead, she waved her hand at her 3 roommates and bid them farewell. Leng Wan replied with a goodbye before walking away from Lu Binlai. Lu Binlai didn't mind her cold and distant attitude at all. With a smile on his face, he said to Leng Wan's back, "Goodbye, classmate Leng Wan." Leng Wan ignored him, and her footsteps didn't slow down either. However, her grip on the medicine bottle slowly tightened. It was already 4 in the afternoon by the time they left the school. Just like when she first came to school, Shi Yao hailed a cab. On the way back to Lin Jie's house, Lin Jie pretended to be oblivious to Shi Yao's plans and asked, "What are we eating tonight?" Hearing Lin Jie's question, Shi Yao suddenly remembered that she had a dinner date with Desolate Year, but she hadn't told him about it yet. "Ah, I forgot to tell you that I won't be able to eat at home tonight. I have a friend." "Oh, I see." Lin Jie nodded in realization. "All right then. You go ahead with your work. I'll just grab a bite at home." Just grab a bite. It sounded really pitiful, but she had already agreed to meet Desolate Year, so it wouldn't be good for her to stand him up. Shi Yao pondered for a moment before replying, "I'll be back right after I'm done eating. Do you have anything you want to eat? I'll bring it back for you." Lin Jie always knew when to retreat in order to advance. "I'm not hungry yet, so I'll just order some takeaway when I'm hungry. You don't have to rush back either. It's not every day that we're out for a meal, so it's more important that we have fun." It would have been better if Lin Jie hadn't said those words, but for some reason, Shi Yao couldn't help but feel a little guilty. After all, he was injured because of her. Now, she left him, an injured person, at home and went out to eat with others. Thinking about it, it was really cruel. Yao shook her head and replied, "No, it's not really an important gathering. It's just a meal. I've already made a promise to someone else, so it won't look good if I don't go." Chapter 571. Yao walked up to the front desk and reported the number of tables that Desolate Year had told her yesterday. The attendant immediately led her to a private room on the second floor. She was the only one there. Since the agreed time was between 7 to 8, Yao wasn't in a hurry. Instead, she took out her phone and browsed through the internet, waiting patiently. A second after Yao left the house, Lin Jiej took out his phone and contacted Desolate Year. Using the boring train ride as an excuse, he dragged Desolate Year to play a few rounds of games, and when it was almost 6:20, Lin Jiej finally got his wish. Desolate Year informed him that his phone was out of battery and he couldn't play anymore. What Lin Jiej wanted wasn't just for Desolate Year to run out of battery, but for Desolate Year to shut down his phone. So, after exiting the game, Lin Jiej went to WeChat and sent a message to Desolate Year. At 6:30, when he was supposed to arrive at the station, Lin Jiej connected the voice changer to Desolate Year and gave him a voice call. Desolate Year thought that she had arrived, so after picking up the call, he hurriedly said, "Little cutie, I'm at the station. My phone is going to run out of battery soon, so I'll be waiting for you at exit 7 of Zone C. Come here to look for me when you arrive." Lin Jiej didn't say a word. It was only after Desolate Year was done that he said, "Big brother Nian, I didn't buy a high-speed train ticket but an ordinary one. I just found out that I had to give way to other trains in the afternoon, so I'll be delayed by an hour." After saying those words, Lin Jiej hurriedly added, "Big brother Nian, I'm really sorry. I didn't notice this in the afternoon. If I had known, I wouldn't have asked you to leave so early, Desolate Year. It's fine. But cutie, I might not be able to reply to your message later. I didn't bring my charger with me, or else we won't be able to contact each other when you arrive." Lin Jiej replied with a "all right" before hanging up the call. He picked up his laptop and got to work. Roughly an hour later, he pretended that he had already arrived at the station and gave Desolate Year another voice call. "Big brother Nian, I'm already here. I'm getting out of the station, but I seem to have taken the wrong route. I ended up in the subway. I'll go to exit 7 of Zone C." "What? Brother Nian, your phone's battery is less than 1%? Okay, I'll remember that. I'll go to exit 7 to find you. I'm not good with directions, so it might take a little longer. Just wait patiently." Before Lin Jiej could finish his words, the WeChat voice call had already ended. Lin Jiej knew that Desolate Year's phone had run out of battery and shut down on its own. He leisurely tossed his phone to the side and took a look at the time. Chapter 572. The person I'm supposed to meet isn't here, so how am I supposed to order it? Yao apologetically told the waiter to wait a moment before picking up her phone to log into the game and send a few messages to Desolation Year. 10 minutes later, there was still no reply. The waiter rushed her again. Yao glanced at her phone and saw that there were no messages from Desolation Year other than her. Did she get stood up? Was Desolation Year toying with her on purpose? Anyone would feel a little displeased to be left waiting for an hour, and Yao was no exception. She pursed her lips in response to the waiter's urging before grabbing her things and standing up. She was starving and craving hot pot, but it was already past 8:40 p.m. Besides, she'd promised Lin Jiej that she'd return early. With such thoughts in mind, Yao apologized to the waiter a few more times before leaving the compartment. By the time she reached the entrance of the hot pot restaurant, she realized that it had already started raining heavily. This was a pedestrian street, so there weren't any taxis here. Even if one were to call for a taxi, they would have to walk to the main road 300 meters away before they could get in. With such heavy rain, putting aside 300 meters, even 300 meters would be drenched. But it was getting late, and there was no telling when the rain would stop. She couldn't just wait here like a fool, could she? Yao hesitated for a moment before gritting her teeth and deciding to run to the side of the road to find a shelter to call for a taxi. But just as she was about to run into the rain, someone called out to her from behind, "Yao?" Yao hurriedly turned around to take a look. Han Jing, who was dressed in a black shirt, walked out of the restaurant with a few classmates, looking as if he'd just finished eating hot pot. Thinking about it, it seemed like ever since she told Han Jing to avoid contact with him during the forum incident, the two of them hadn't interacted much. Han Jing was still as warm and amiable as ever, not the slightest bit angry or embarrassed by Shi Yao's merciless rejection. Shi Yao, you're here to eat hot pot too? I'm here to eat hot pot, but I didn't get to eat hot pot at all. Shi Yao felt aggrieved for a moment before replying to Han Jing. Han Jing glanced at the storm outside. Are you going back to school? Actually, that wasn't the case. But she couldn't possibly tell him that she was going to Lin Jiej's place, could she? Shi Yao could only reply with another on. Han Jing glanced at Shi Yao's hand, which was only holding onto a bag, and asked, You didn't bring an umbrella? How about I send you back to school? With that, Han Jing took out a black umbrella from his backpack. Senior Han, I don't want to. Before Shi Yao could finish her words, Han Jing had already interjected, Shi Yao, it's only right for fellow students to help one another out. For a moment, Shi Yao was at a loss for words. However, it would only take her 10 minutes to reach the academy. She could return to her dormitory room to grab an umbrella before heading back to Lin Jiej's house. Shi Yao pondered for a moment before replying, Sure. With a smile, Han Jing replied with, You're welcome, before opening up his umbrella. After Shi Yao entered, he led Shi Yao toward the academy. The rain was heavy, and the road was not easy to walk. Neither of them noticed that a girl was standing at the entrance of a noodle shop not far away. She was holding her phone and recording the scene. Little Theater Gujalin. My baby is unhappy. My baby wants to rebel. Why does the girl I like have so many admirers? Didn't the other male protagonists in the past do the same? Readers. Patting my head. Who asked you to be so despicable? Chapter 573. It wasn't until Shi Yao and Han Jing's silhouettes disappeared from the girl's sight that the girl put away her phone and sent the video she had just recorded over to Liang Mumu. Not too long later, the girl received a voice message from Liang Mumu. One of them is that little slut Shi Yao, and the other one is, I can't quite remember who he is, but he looks a little familiar. After listening to Liang Mumu's voice message, the girl replied, It's Han Jing. He's from our faculty. He's also studying the arts, and he plays the violin exceptionally well. Liang Mumu, yes, I know him. He's Shi Yao's senior Han, right? The two of them actually came out to eat alone, and they even shared the same umbrella? The girl, I'm not too sure about the specifics. I just happened to bump into him, and I recalled what you told me before, so I told you to tell you everything I know about Shi Yao. Not bad. That's quite a good video. Liang Mumu's slightly cold laughter sounded from the voice message, following which, she continued, I really have to thank you for your help this time. However, there's one more thing I would like to trouble you for. After hearing Liang Mumu's words, a hint of incomprehension flashed across the girl's eyes. Is there a point in doing that? Liang Mumu, of course there is. Think about it. If a person really likes another person and pursues her for so long, only to find out that he's been deceived by her, what would he do? He would surely hate her. As long as he hates her, he'll be of use to me in the future. The girl. All right then, I'll give it a try. Before the girl could finish her words, she heard a slight movement by her side. She raised her head and saw her friend walking over with a tray of food. Before she could finish her words, she sent the voice message over and typed a reply. It's not convenient for me right now. I'll contact you later. Liang Mumu replied with all right before sending a relatively long message. Remember to do what I told you earlier. The girl casually typed got it, and sent the voice message. Seeing that Liang Mumu didn't reply to her message, she put away her phone. Iran, the jajang noodles you ordered are already sold out. Is there anything else you'd like to eat? Her friend walked up to the dining table, put down the sour noodle soup he had ordered, and asked Qin Iran with a smile. With a smile, Qin Iran shook her head and said, There's no need for that. I suddenly remembered that I have something important to do, so you can continue eating. I'll be leaving first. After which, Qin Iran grabbed her bag and umbrella and hurriedly left the noodle shop. During the summer in Beijing, the weather was very unstable. In the afternoon, the sky was clear for miles, but in the night, there was a sudden flash of lightning and thunder. Lin Jiej was awoken by the sound of thunder. The first thin he did after sitting up was to check the time. It's already close to 9 o'clock, so Softbun should be back by now, right? But with such a heavy downpour, would she be drenched? Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej prepared to head out to fetch Shi Yao. But as soon as he got off the bed, his phone rang. An unknown phone number sent a video. Grabbing his phone, Lin Jiej went out to look for an umbrella as he tapped on the video call. Then, when he saw the video, his expression instantly turned cold. Due to the heavy rain, he wasn't able to see the image clearly. However, he could still tell that the two people in the video were Shi Yao and Han Jing, the man who had confessed to her at the entrance of the dormitory room. Chapter 574. Just as Lin Jiej made up his mind, his phone vibrated once more. Once again, it was a message from the unknown number. They look really intimate in the video. Look, the guy's using his umbrella to cover the girl's body, and he's getting drenched too. Lin Jiej frowned as he tapped on the video once more. This time, he was looking at the video much more carefully than before. It was just as the message had said. Han Jing was really taking good care of Shi Yao, and half of his body was drenched in the rain. Perhaps it was due to the rain, but it was a little difficult to walk on the road. Occasionally, Han Jing would reach out to support Shi Yao. The video wasn't long, but in this short 2 minutes, Shi Yao and Han Jing had exchanged gazes several times. Even through the heavy rain, she could still see the warm smile on Han Jing's face. Lin Jiej's lips couldn't help but tighten. After Softbun stood him up, she bumped into Han Jing and had dinner with him. She promised him that she'd return home as soon as possible after dinner. An indescribable discomfort instantly crept into Lin Jiej's heart. Coincidentally, he received yet another message from the unknown number. They seem to have eaten hot pot together, and they're returning to school together now. This is the girl you like? Heh! Lin Jiej was initially intending to ignore the video, but when he saw the word heh, he suddenly raised his finger and started typing on the screen. Perhaps it was out of displeasure, or perhaps it was out of anger, but he typed very forcefully, causing the screen to echo with a loud da-da-dee sound. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what you're thinking when you sent this video. I'm telling you right now, I like her. Even if she's ugly, fat, and has had countless boyfriends, I still like her. Have you heard of the words irreplaceable before? Do you know what it means? However, there's a high chance that a brainless person like you wouldn't know, so I'll just tell you this once. Irreplaceable means irreplaceable, unique, and she is irreplaceable to me. So, I advise you to put away your meaningless tricks. Do you think that I won't like her just because you sent me a video and instigated me with a few words? You must be joking. If I like someone, I'll like them for life. Even if she doesn't like me, I'll still like her. You want me to slap her face? Dream on. Lin Jiej typed out a long string of words in a single breath. He was intending to send the message straight away, but just as his finger was about to tap on the screen, he suddenly paused. He added a heh before sending the message out. What the hell? Do you think you're the only one who knows how to do that? I'm better than you. Hee hee. A second after the message was successfully sent, Lin Jiej tossed his phone onto the sofa by the side. With a cold expression on his face, he walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window and stared at the heavy rain outside. When she returned to the female dormitory, she noticed that half of Han Jing's body was drenched in sweat. Feeling a little embarrassed, she quickly thanked him and added, "Senior Han, you should hurry back to the dormitory. You might catch a cold." Han Jing was still acting like a nice guy. "You too. Hurry up and go in." Shi Yao nodded. After a moment of silence, she said goodbye before entering the dormitory. After Shi Yao's silhouette disappeared from his sight, Han Jing opened his umbrella and prepared to leave. Chapter 575. Han Jing instinctively turned around, only to see a young lady dressed in a white chiffon dress and strappy sandals walking toward him with a red umbrella in her hand. Only when she got closer did Han Jing realize that the person who had called out to him was Qiniran. They were classmates, and it wasn't as if they hadn't spoken to each other before. However, ever since she started using all kinds of pseudonyms to smear Shi Yao's name on the forum last semester, he rarely spoke to her anymore. As such, When Han Jing recognized that the other party was Qin Iran, a hint of disgust surfaced in his eyes. Even his voice sounded particularly unfriendly. "What did you call me for?" Qin Iran didn't mind Han Jing's attitude at all. She shot a glance at the female dormitory that Shi Yao had just entered and asked, "Is the person you sent back to the dormitory the Year 1 English faculty Shi Yao?" To think that she still had the cheek to mention Shi Yao's name. Han Jing's tone grew even more vile. "What does it have to do with you?" "It does have nothing to do with me." Qin Iran's tone was still as gentle as before. "But it does have something to do with you." Before Han Jing could say anything, Qin Iran continued, "You like her a lot, don't you? I heard that you were the one who received her in her freshman year, and you fell in love with her at first sight. You've been taking good care of her in the student union too. I even heard that you queued up for half the night during Christmas just to buy her her favorite online pancake." "Han Jing, if you don't have anything else to say, I'll be taking my leave first." "What's the hurry?" Qin Iran chuckled softly. "Everything should be done step by step, right? I haven't laid the groundwork yet, so how can I tell you the main point?" "Forget it. Since you don't want to hear it, I'll just tell you the main point. You like Shi Yao so much, and you've been by her side for so long. So how much do you know about her? Does she know that you like her? Did she reject you? In the beginning, did she tell you that she actually had a fiancé?" "Fiancé? Shi Yao has a fiancé?" Han Jing's complexion suddenly froze. "Qin Iran, judging from your expression, it seems like you don't know. She knows that you like her, but she didn't tell you that she has a fiancé. She sure has some tricks up her sleeves." Shi Yao was such a clean person, so she couldn't possibly be as scheming as Qin Iran made her out to be. With that thought in mind, Han Jing said, "Don't talk nonsense. I'm really not spouting nonsense here. Shi Yao really has a fiancé, and I've only found out about it not too long ago. The reason why I'm telling you about it is to warn you not to be fooled by others. Also, I'm sure you know who her fiancé is. He's a famous figure in G University, Lin Jiej from the mathematics faculty. They were engaged 6 years ago. 6 years ago. You only met Shi Yao last year, and it's been more than a year since then, but she didn't tell you about this at all." Sigh. Qin Iran shook her head as she pointed to the dormitory building that Shi Yao had just entered and said, "I just happened to bump into you, so I mentioned it to you in passing. I don't have any other intentions. It's getting late, so I'll be heading back to my room to sleep. Good night." After saying those words, Qin Iran strode into the female dormitory. The rain was still falling, and there was no sign of it stopping. Instead, it was getting heavier. Chapter 576. After entering the female dormitory, Qin Iran wasn't in a hurry to return to her room. Instead, she walked to the end of the corridor and picked up her phone to send a message to Liang Mumu. "I've done what you asked me to do. I told Han Jing that Shi Yao has a fiancé, and judging from his shocked expression, it's likely that it's just as you said. He likes her a lot, and if he learns that he's been deceived, he'll hate Shi Yao. However, I have to remind you that he's very protective of Shi Yao, so there's a chance that he won't believe my words. Liang Mumu, it's fine. I'll find a way to convince him." "Qin Iran, good luck then." After a moment of silence, Qin Iran sent another message. "Right, you haven't forgotten what you promised me, right? As long as I help you, you'll let me into the Lin family enterprise." "Liang Mumu, I remember, of course I remember. Don't worry, as long as I replace Shi Yao and become Lin Jiej's fiancé, I'll definitely fulfill my promise." "Qin Iran, I'll be waiting for your good news." Liang Mumu replied with an emoji. Qin Iran didn't respond. Instead, she stared at her phone screen with a sharp glint in her eyes. Back then, it was Liang Mumu who had approached her with those photos of Shi Yao. She told her that as long as she cooperated with her, she would grant her a wish. She agreed to it and went to the forums to expose Shi Yao. What was important was that the reason why she agreed to Liang Mumu's request wasn't because of the Lin family enterprise but Lin Jiej. Liang Mumu's dream was Lin Jiej, and so was she. However, she didn't have the unique advantage that Liang Mumu had. She had known Lin Jiej since childhood, and she had a cousin who was Lin Jiej's childhood friend. She had nothing at all. Thus, for the sake of her own dream, she could only choose to cooperate with Liang Mumu. She tried her best to make Liang Mumu think that she was doing this for the sake of her bright future. But then again, Liang Mumu was also a fool. She thought that she was smart, but in the end, didn't she still end up being used by her? Of course she wanted a bright future, but how could the bright future of the Lin family enterprise compare to the bright future of the wife of the Lin family enterprise's future successor? She was currently trying to compromise with Liang Mumu, but on the final day, the day that Shi Yao was eliminated would also be the day that she, Liang Mumu, would be eliminated as well. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, it was already 11 o'clock at night. The door was still very quiet, and the cars that drove downstairs never stopped at the building that he lived in. It had been 2 hours since she had finished eating, but she still hadn't returned. Was she with Hanjing? Was the existence of that tiger really that important? It was so heavy that she had forgotten that she had promised him to come back earlier. During this period of time, he had actually thought about calling her and pretending to be uncomfortable to trick her into coming back. Or he could just go straight to the school to find her and forcefully bring her home. He had a lot of little schemes since he was young. In just a few short minutes, he had thought of dozens of ways to trick her into coming back. However, this time, he didn't use any of them. All he did was stand in front of the window and wait. As time passed, Lin Jiej could clearly see the sorrow, disappointment, and helplessness he was feeling growing in his heart. Chapter 577. Not too far away, the hands of the floor clock ticked away. At 11:30, Lin Jiej, who had been staring out the window all this while, finally lowered his eyelids. In that instant, there was a clear sense of sorrow that gushed out from his body. It can't be that she's not coming back, right? But does she know that I'm still waiting for her? Waiting? Lin Jiej couldn't help but ask himself. That's right. I've been waiting for a very long time. From the moment I knew that you were Yao Love's ice cream, from the moment I understood that the special feeling I had for you was liking you, from the moment I was certain that you were the only one in my life. I've been waiting for you, Shi Yao. I like you. That's why I chose to wait for you. As this thought flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, the sorrowful feeling he was feeling grew even more intense. Just as he was thinking that she probably wouldn't be coming back tonight, he suddenly heard a ding-dang outside his door. It was the sound of the elevator door opening. He was the only tenant on this floor, and there was a security guard on the first floor. He would be notified of any visitors unless it was Shi Yao, who had been staying here recently. So, she's back? Could it be that I've been too anxious waiting for her that I've made a mistake? Before the word sleep could even appear in his mind, Lin Jiej heard the sound of someone keying in his passcode. Lin Jiej instinctively turned his gaze toward the door. Softbun is really back. He stared at the door for 2 seconds, then suddenly lifted his feet and strode into his bedroom. Pushing open the door, Shi Yao realized that the living room was completely dark. The lights weren't switched on. Lin Jiej isn't home? Shi Yao frowned as she placed the bag she was carrying on the floor. Then, she switched on the lights, changed out of her shoes, and headed to the master bedroom. She knocked on the door a few times, but there was no response. Still worried, Shi Yao took the liberty of twisting the doorknob and pushed the door open slightly. Lin Jiej was lying on the bed with a blanket draped over him. His eyes were closed, and it seemed like he was asleep. It's only 11:30, and he's already asleep? So early? Don't tell me you're not feeling well? Shi Yao was perplexed for a moment before she called out Lin Jiej's name. He ignored her. This made Shi Yao even more worried. She subconsciously walked over to Lin Jiej's bedside and placed her hand on his forehead. It's fortunate that he doesn't have a fever, Shi Yao muttered under her breath. Then, she couldn't help but ask curiously, then why did he sleep so early? As she spoke, she glanced at the medicine on the table by the side before picking it up and counting it carefully. He didn't even take his medicine for the night before falling asleep? Shi Yao squatted down and moved closer to Lin Jiej's side. With a gentle voice, she called out his name again. Lin Jiej? Lin Jiej? On the surface, Lin Jiej looked as if he was sleeping soundly, but his heart was already in turmoil. What to do? He seemed to be a good-for-nothing. He wanted to be angry with her, but she ran to him, muttered a few words, and called his name a few times, and his heart softened into a complete mess. Sigh, forget it. Who asked her to be the girl he liked? What else could he do? He could only admit defeat. As long as she called his name one more time, he would pretend to have been woken up by her and open his eyes. It seems like he's really asleep because he's feeling unwell due to his injuries. Forget it. I still have other matters to attend to. I should just let him sleep for a while longer. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao reached out to lower the brightness of Lin Jie's bedside lamp before leaving his bedroom. Chapter 578. She's gone? Hearing the door to his room being closed, Lin Jie opened his eyes in disbelief. He stared at the empty room and blinked his eyes in disbelief. She's really gone just like that? What's wrong with calling my name one more time? With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jie flipped over in frustration. In fact, he even kicked his blanket twice in displeasure. If only I'd known earlier, I would have woken up the second time she called my name. Is this the legendary courting death? Lin Jie stared at the ceiling helplessly for a moment, and the more he thought about it, the more regretful he felt. Eventually, he couldn't help but flip over in his bed. A moment later, he flipped over once more. Lin Jie rolled around on his bed for quite some time, and just when he couldn't stand it any longer, he decided to pretend that he had just woken up and head out to drink some water. At that moment, the door to his room was pushed open once more. Soft Bun is in my room again? Lin Jie hurriedly pretended to be asleep as he picked up the blanket he had kicked off the bed and covered himself with it. After which, he closed his eyes and lay motionless. Through the faint footsteps, Lin Jie could vaguely tell that Shi Yao was slowly approaching him. Not too long later, he heard her voice above him. Lin Jie. Having learned his lesson, Lin Jie didn't dare to act rashly again. A second after Shi Yao's voice sounded, his eyelashes fluttered slightly, and as if someone had woken him up from a dream, he slowly opened his eyes. In order to not expose himself, Lin Jie tried his best to keep his eyes blank, feigning a dazed look. After staring at Shi Yao for a while longer, he finally seemed to realize what was going on, and he slowly rose to his feet. "You're back?" While asking, Lin Jie glanced out of the window, pretending that he had slept for a long time and had no idea what time it was. Then, he asked, "What time is it?" "It's almost midnight. It's already so late?" Shi Yao was silent for a moment before replying, "I didn't want to wake you up, but I saw that you hadn't taken your medicine yet, so I decided to wake you up." "Oh," Lin Jie replied nonchalantly. "I was working on a project earlier in the evening, and I was a little tired, so I took a short nap. I didn't think that I'd be sleeping until now." "Bangwan?" Shi Yao immediately grasped the main point in Lin Jie's words. "Have you had dinner yet?" Lin Jie shook his head. "Not yet." Lin Jie paused for a moment before continuing. "I wasn't that hungry back then, so I didn't eat." "Are you hungry now?" Before Lin Jie could respond, Shi Yao continued, "Regardless of whether you're hungry or not, you should come out and eat something first. It's not good for your stomach to eat on an empty stomach." "Eat?" Lin Jie frowned. He seemed to have understood something. "That's right." Oblivious to Lin Jie's reaction, Shi Yao adjusted the lights in the bedroom a little brighter and said, "I haven't had dinner yet, and I'm starving to death right now. I just went to the dining room to cook a hot pot, and it just so happens that it's a double duck pot. You can't eat spicy food due to your injuries, but you can still have some clear soup." Wait a minute. The amount of information was a little too much for him to digest. Chapter 579. The moment Lin Jie brought it up, Shi Yao's face immediately turned livid. "I would have forgotten about it if you hadn't reminded me. Do you know that I was stood up by someone today? I'm so angry." "Stood up?" She's referring to that wild man, right? As the instigator of this, Lin Jie feigned ignorance and asked, "What do you mean by stood up?" "That's right. The person who invited me out for a meal didn't show up at all. I had to wait for him in the restaurant for an entire hour and a half. Do you know how hungry I was back then? Furthermore, it was a hot pot restaurant. The air was filled with the call of the hot pot." "The call of the hot pot?" Lin Jie picked out a term that he didn't understand. "It's the smell of the hot pot. It kept calling for me to come and eat me. Isn't it the call of the hot pot? Lin Jiej. She sounded like she was right, making it impossible for him to refute her. Lin Jiej, since you haven't eaten yet and I haven't eaten either, shall we head out for hot pot now? Sure, sure. Sure Yao's eyes immediately curled into crescents as she nodded vigorously. Without saying a word, Lin Jiej got off the bed. As the two of them made their way to the dining hall, Sure Yao looked as if she was presenting a treasure to Zhang Xian, chattering nonstop, "Let me tell you, my hot pot is really delicious. As a foodie, I have to possess incredible cooking skills. I had to travel quite a distance just to buy these ingredients for my hot pot. Ran a really long way. Could it be that Soft Bun returned so late to buy hot pot ingredients?" Lin Jiej suppressed the joy in his heart and tried to get Sure Yao to reveal the truth. "You came back so late because you went to buy hot pot ingredients?" "That's right. I wanted to eat hot pot, but I didn't get to eat it. I won't be able to sleep well tonight." Seeing that the hot pot on the table was already boiling, Sure Yao hurriedly ran over and lifted the lid to take a look, after which she began adding meat slices into the pot. "Let me tell you, I'm really unlucky tonight. It's already pitiful enough that someone stood me up, right? But when I left, there was even a huge rainstorm." A rainstorm. What he was most concerned about was, before Sure Yao could finish her words, Lin Jiej hurriedly interjected, "I remember that you didn't bring an umbrella with you when you left the house. Did you get wet?" In order to make it seem as if he was only concerned about her, he even added a few more words. "Did you take a hot bath after returning home? Why didn't you call me and let me pick you up? Even if I couldn't, I could have asked the driver to pick you up." "No, no, no." Sure Yao hurriedly shook her head. "I'm fine. My luck was a little better. I bumped into a schoolmate at the entrance of the hot pot restaurant, and he brought me back to school. As such, Soft Bun didn't eat hot pot with Hanjing at all. He knew that this red apricot of his was growing up to be a good seedling." Overjoyed, the tense look on Lin Jiej's face loosened significantly. "It's good that you didn't get wet." However, it was only 9 o'clock at that time. She actually took more than 2 hours to get home. Did she buy food the whole time? Chapter 580. That's right. I went back to my dormitory room to grab an umbrella before taking a taxi to the supermarket. Sure Yao replied matter-of-factly, thinking that it was something that couldn't be any more normal. "Let me tell you, I went to a total of 5 supermarkets. Since these ingredients are distributed in different supermarkets, I had no choice but to run around in order to gather them all. I bought this clear broth from a supermarket near our school, this spicy one from a supermarket near Second Ring Road, this lasagna from a private supermarket, and this dipping sauce is my favorite, but it's also the furthest away, so I went to Chaoyang to buy it. Lastly, I bought these vegetables from a supermarket near our house. Since they're too heavy, I had to get closer to them. But even so, my arms still turned red from the strain." As she spoke, Sure Yao stretched her fair and slender arms toward Lin Jiej. Her skin was fair and smooth to begin with, and the heavy weight caused the red marks on her arms to be particularly glaring. Initially, Lin Jiej was shocked when he heard that she had to go to 5 supermarkets to gather a table full of ingredients. However, when he saw her arms, he immediately reached out to massage them lightly and asked, "Are you feeling better now? Does it still hurt?" His fingertips were slightly cold, and when they landed on her skin, it was hard to tell whether it was a tingling sensation or a numbing sensation. Sure Yao's words suddenly stopped at the tip of her lips. She stared at Lin Jiej's fingertips for a moment before retracting her arms with a slightly reddened face. She picked up a piece of meat with her chopsticks and placed it in Lin Jiej's bowl, saying, "I'm starving to death. Let's hurry up and eat." Lin Jiej replied with an before picking up the piece of meat. Sure Yao passed to him with his chopsticks and dipped it in the dipping sauce before putting it into his mouth. In contrast to Lin Jiej's calmness, Sure Yao discreetly rubbed her arms against her clothes to get rid of the strange sensation he had left on her skin before picking up her chopsticks and eating the hot pot. As Lin Jiej's right hand was inconvenient, Sure Yao took the initiative to pick food for him throughout the entire meal. As a result, the already full Lin Jiej ended up bursting at the end. While Sure Yao was clearing the table, Lin Jiej wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he took a picture of the leftovers on his phone and sent it over to Lu Binlai and Xia Shangzhou. Yao Yao's hot pot. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Jie added, Yao Yao braved the heavy rain and went to 5 supermarkets before she managed to buy all the ingredients necessary to make this hot pot. Juice. Boss, your first sentence has already killed me. You don't need a second sentence to whip my corpse. Expert of the monkeys. The other party is blind and can't see your message. Lin Jie was in a really good mood, so he generously replied with a full stop, yes. Lu Binlai and Xia Shangzhou ignored him. 3 seconds later, Lin Jie sent the same message to each of them. I've been looking for a peach blossom for so long, and I've finally met a formidable opponent. Perhaps it was due to Lin Jie's distress. Lu Binlai and Xia Shangzhou replied swiftly. Even through the screen, Lin Jie could sense their excitement. Juice. What formidable opponent? Expert of the monkeys. Boss, hurry up and tell us. I can't wait to know. Chapter 581. Juice, expert of the monkeys, Lin Jie, and I can't afford to squash such a formidable opponent. If I don't do it right, I'll be the one to die. Juice, boss, I'll mourn for you for a second. Expert of the monkeys, boss, I'll support you in spirit unconditionally. Lin Jie, but it's fortunate that I have money, so I can deliver whatever Yao Yao wants to eat to her. Thinking about it this way, it's entirely possible for me and delicacies to coexist in Yao Yao's world. In G University's room 501, Lu Binlai unhesitatingly took back the boss, I'll mourn for you for a second message he had just sent. In the end, he was just flaunting his happiness. In Lin Family Enterprise, Xia Shangzhou was eating instant noodles while working overtime. When he saw Lin Jie's reply, he gulped down a mouthful of instant noodles resentfully before taking back the boss. I'll support you in spirit unconditionally. Message he had just sent. If you're already flaunting your happiness even before we're together, will you still let me live? Looking at the 2 notifications on his phone that his message had been taken back, Lin Jie raised his phone calmly. Just as he was about to type out another message, a QQ notification suddenly popped up on his screen. Lin Jie tapped on it and realized that Little Cutie of the Desolate Era, SQQ, wasn't offline yet. On the other hand, Desolate Era had sent him a message. Little Cutie, I've been waiting for you for so long. Why aren't you here yet? 361,000 renminbi of a wild man. Did she return home because she couldn't wait for me and her phone was charged? Would Softbun send me a message if she couldn't wait for me? Would he reply to Softbun after receiving the message? Would Softbun know that he had touched her phone? In just 3 short seconds, Lin Jie pretended that he had received a call, raised his phone to his ear, and replied with a hello. Shi Yao, who was in the midst of tidying up, heard his voice and glanced in his direction. Seeing that he was on the phone, she quickly returned to her work. Lin Jie spoke some high-sounding words into his phone, as if he was discussing some kind of collaboration. Shi Yao was afraid that she would disturb him by making too much of a ruckus, so she became much gentler as she tidied up the items. Even when she turned on the tap to wash the dishes, the flow of water was reduced by half. By the time Shi Yao's hands were soaked in foam, Lin Jie suddenly spoke into the phone, "Wait a moment, I can't quite remember." After which, Lin Jie looked around, and seeing that he didn't have a pen or paper, he turned to Shi Yao and asked, "Yao Yao, can I borrow your phone for a moment? I remember numbers." "All right." Shi Yao glanced at the dining table and said, "My phone is over there. You can use it." Lin Jie brazenly took Shi Yao's phone away before tapping on the screen and pointing to the page that required a password. Chapter 582. After entering the game, Lin Jie immediately saw the notification of Shi Yao's unread messages. He tapped on it, and just as he had expected, Desolate Year had really replied to Shi Yao's message. Desolate Year, Yao, didn't I tell you yesterday that I had something on today and couldn't go for dinner? Didn't you see it? Desolate Year, Yao, didn't you reply to my message yesterday? What the hell is going on? Desolate Year, Yao, are you angry? Why are you ignoring me? Lin Jie held his phone between his neck and pretended to recite a series of parameters that Shi Yao couldn't understand. His fingers swiftly tapped on Shi Yao's phone as if he was recording the parameters, but in truth, he was replying to Desolate Year, S message. Oh, I asked around. Last night, after I fell asleep, Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before replying with 2 words. My older brother was using my phone to play games, so he saw your message and replied to you. However, he forgot to tell me today. Desolate Year was online, and he instantly replied, You have an older brother? Right, love brother. Lin Jiej pondered as he recited the complicated formula earnestly. At the same time, he replied to Desolate Year's message, Right. Did you go to meet your fan today? Desolate Year. What do you mean? You don't understand? Hee, you're still pretending? Lin Jiej lowered his eyelids. It wasn't surprising that little cutie knew many of his fans in Desolate Year's fan club. Even if the host wasn't live streaming, his fans could still chat with him. So, with this thought in mind, Lin Jiej swiftly tapped on the screen a few times before replying. I went to your live stream today, and someone said that you want to meet little cutie. Desolate Year's reply was no longer feigning ignorance, but an explanation. Little cutie came to Beijing. She doesn't know the way, so she asked me to pick her up. Desolate Year. She begged me for a long time before I went. What do you mean by begging you for a long time? You must be joking. Do I look like the kind of person who would beg others? I only rushed over when I heard that you were going to a hotel, however. Having achieved his goal, Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to waste any more time on Desolate Year. I see. It's getting late, so I'm going to sleep now. Let's chat later. Desolation. Okay. Lin Jiej wasn't in a hurry to reply to Desolation Year's message. Instead, he deleted all of their earlier conversations, leaving only Desolation Year's words. Little cutie came to Beijing, but she doesn't know the way, so she asked me to fetch her. After he deleted the message, he replied with a smiley emoji. He quickly deleted the smiley emoji and exited the chat with Desolate Year. Soon, a new notification popped up in the chat window. It was a reply from Desolation Year. Even without tapping on it, Lin Jiej could see that Desolation Year had also replied with a smiling emoticon. This way, when Soft Bun logged into the game, she would see the notification that someone had sent her a message. She wouldn't know that he had intercepted Desolate Year's message. Chapter 583. All right. After washing the dishes, Shi Yao didn't rush to grab her phone. Instead, she headed straight to Lin Jiej's bedroom. Not too long later, she returned to the dining room with Lin Jiej's medicine in hand. Shi Yao poured a cup of water and watched as Lin Jiej gulped down every single pill before picking up her phone and leaving the dining hall with Lin Jiej. Just like the previous 2 days, Shi Yao helped Lin Jiej remove his clothes before he showered. After Lin Jiej entered the bathroom, Shi Yao felt bored, so she logged into the game and saw 2 unread messages from Desolate Year. The first message was, Little cutie is in Beijing. She doesn't know the way, so she asked me to pick her up. The second message was a smiling emoji. So, the reason why Desolate Year stood up without saying a word was because he went to meet that shameless White Lotus. He could go and see her, but before he went to see that White Lotus, could he at least tell her not to let her wait there like a fool? That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that she had sent him so many messages, but he didn't even apologize to her. Instead, he only replied with this one sentence. Fine, I'll just take it as an explanation. What's the meaning of that smiling emoji? Shi Yao stared at the smiling emoji, and the more she looked at it, the more she felt like she was being mocked by Desolate Year. An indescribable feeling of indignation filled her heart. Is this Desolate Year playing with me? I'm so angry. The more Shi Yao thought about it, the more furious she became. In the end, she couldn't help but stomp her feet on the carpet. After his shower, Lin Jiej opened the door and saw Shi Yao stomping her feet on the floor in anger. Stunned, he asked, What's wrong? Hearing Lin Jiej's question, the infuriated Shi Yao rushed over to Lin Jiej and began recounting the entire incident with a pitiful look on her face. Let me tell you, I'm about to die from anger. I gotta know someone in the game, and he's really too much. He's my classmate, and he invited me out for a meal. After some thought, I decided that it wouldn't be a big deal since he's an acquaintance of mine, so I decided to eat with him. As she spoke, She tapped into the game and opened up the chat records that Desolation Year had sent her. Look, I sent him so many messages, but he only replied with a single sentence and a smiley face. Don't you think that this smiley face looks like he's mocking me? I'm really going to die of anger. I curse him to eat instant noodles without any seasoning packets. Sure Yao, who rarely scolded others, stuttered for a long time, but she still couldn't find a single word to say. This kind of person is really a scumbag. Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej picked up Shi Yao's words and started berating Desolation Year. If it were me, I would have blacklisted such a person right away. Do you think I'd let him live through the new year? Right. Reminded by Lin Jiej, Shi Yao unhesitatingly tapped on Desolation's name and blacklisted him. I don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. Taking in this sight, Lin Jiej couldn't help but burst into laughter. Chapter 584. However, there wasn't the slightest hint of joy on Lin Jiej's face. All right, it's not worth getting angry over such a person. As he consoled Shi Yao, he used the method he had thought of to coax her earlier in the afternoon. Right, while I was bathing earlier, I suddenly remembered something. After you left in the evening, when I called someone to send some soda over, I also sent some Häagen-Dazs ice creams. They have every flavor, and they're in the fridge. Upon hearing the mention of ice cream, Shi Yao's eyes suddenly lit up, and she completely forgot about the desolate years. Do you have strawberry-flavored ice cream? Yeah, strawberry-flavored ice cream seems to be the most common. I love strawberry-flavored ice cream the most. Oh right, do you want some? We can eat ice cream together later. Those two words successfully pleased Lin Jiej. Sure. After that, Shi Yao began helping Lin Jiej remove the plastic wrap and put on his clothes. Lin Jiej thought that the matter of the desolate years had come to an end, but little did he expect that after Shi Yao finished bathing and changing into her pajamas, she would suddenly bring up the topic of the desolate years while eating ice cream with him in the living room. I was so engrossed in my anger over the desolate years that I forgot about that bitchy white lotus. Back then, when she was playing games, I was rendered speechless by her coquettishness. She kept calling me Big Brother Nian. Now that she's in Beijing, she says that she doesn't know the way around. This kind of excuse can only fool the desolate years, right? But then again, do you know what's the name of the white lotus that's so good? So good? She's called Little Cutie from the desolate years. Little Cutie. It sounds like a pug, right? Am I right? Yes. A month wasn't too long, but it wasn't too short either. Other than when she was in class, Shi Yao spent most of her time in Lin Jiej's house. On the other hand, Lin Jiej was much busier than her. He often had an endless stream of phone calls and keyboard noises. When Lin Jiej was busy, Shi Yao would either study by his side, do her English papers, or play games by herself. Over the past month, Lin Jiej had done quite a few things that touched Shi Yao's heart. For example, when she was on her period, Lin Jiej didn't have any sanitary pads at home. Due to her carelessness, she had forgotten to prepare them in advance. It was Lin Jiej who heard the commotion in the middle of the night and came out to ask her what was wrong. After understanding the situation, he rushed out to buy sanitary pads for her. For example, when she was feeling unwell, she could always see warm milk, hot brown sugar water, and hot ginger tea. Another example would be when she casually said that she really wanted to eat fried glutinous rice balls with sesame. Not long after, the doorbell rang. She opened the door and saw the fried glutinous rice balls with sesame that she wanted to eat. For example, when Lin Jiej was busy, she would fall asleep reading a book by his side, and when she woke up, there would always be a blanket wrapped around her. In short, time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, it was already time for Lin Jiej's checkup at the hospital. In truth, Shi Yao felt that the month she had spent in Lin Jiej's house had been rather enjoyable. She thought that this happiness would last until Lin Jiej recovered and she returned to her dormitory. But sometimes, things would happen without warning, and things would go against one's wishes. Lin Jiej had scheduled a checkup at the hospital on October 1st, and that unexpected incident happened on September 30th. Chapter 585. It was a weekend, and since Shi Yao didn't have to attend classes, she spent the night browsing through her Adonis Legends forum. When she woke up the next day, the first thing she did after washing up was to rush over to Lin Jie's room to ask him what he was having for lunch. As the two of them had been living under the same roof for a long time, the unfamiliarity that Shi Yao felt with Lin Jie had already disappeared without a trace. Thus, she didn't bother knocking on the door at all. Instead, as if she was strolling through her own bedroom, she pushed open the door and rushed in. Lin Jie, let's go for lunch. Before Shi Yao could finish her words, she noticed that Lin Jie, who was leaning against the headboard with his laptop in his hands, had a strange look on his face. She subconsciously shut her mouth, and even her footsteps slowed down as she asked, "What's wrong?" Hearing that, Lin Jie first raised his head to look at Shi Yao, and the slightly dark expression on his face softened significantly. However, his tone was still a little stiff as he said, "It's nothing." His face was as dark as a fried eggplant. Only a fool would believe him if he told her that he was fine. But judging from Lin Jie's expression, it didn't seem like he wanted to talk about it. Since he didn't want to talk about it, she should respect his privacy. No matter how curious she was, she shouldn't pry into it. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao replied with an "oh" before continuing to walk over to Lin Jie's side. Before she could get any closer, Lin Jie abruptly raised his hand and closed his laptop, as if afraid that she would see what was on it. By the time Lin Jie was done, he realized that he had overreacted, so he hurriedly asked, "What do you want to eat for lunch?" As he spoke, he took out his phone and prepared to order lunch. Shi Yao stared at Lin Jie's laptop for a moment before reciting a list of dishes that she wanted to eat. While she was speaking, Lin Jie's fingers swiftly tapped on his phone screen. By the time Shi Yao was done, Lin Jie had already placed his order. "I'll help you squeeze out some toothpaste." Shi Yao glanced at Lin Jie's laptop and said, "Hurry up and brush your teeth." Lin Jie replied with an "und" before pulling his blanket aside and following Shi Yao into the bathroom. After washing up, Lin Jie switched on his laptop. Shi Yao knew that Lin Jie didn't want her to look at the content on his laptop, so as curious as she was, she still obediently left his bedroom. Half an hour later, lunch was served. Shi Yao took the food and went over to call Lin Jie over for lunch, only to see him tapping on the keyboard with a grim expression on his face. It was as if he wanted to murder someone through the screen. Was he arguing with someone because of a disagreement at work? Shi Yao was perplexed for a moment, but when she saw Lin Jie looking at her, she quickly said, "Lunch is here. Come and eat." "Okay." Lin Jie's voice was as calm as ever, but right after he said those words, a cold glint flashed across his eyes as he stared at the computer screen. However, he didn't continue typing as if he was smashing his keyboard. Instead, he closed his laptop, stood up, and walked over to Shi Yao. Chapter 586. "That won't do. I have lessons to attend. You're applying for leave?" Lin Jie paused for a moment before adding, "There are many delicious restaurants in Chengdu. Don't you like spicy food the most? I've already memorized all of the famous restaurants in Chengdu. Let's go there one by one." Shi Yao hesitated. Spicy rabbit head, hot pot, boiled chicken, braised quail eggs, taro chicken, kebabs. Shi Yao hesitated for a few seconds before replying, "I'll give the counselor a call. If she agrees, I'll go." "All right." Lin Jie nodded gently. He picked up his chopsticks, picked up a piece of sweet and sour pork, and placed it in Shi Yao's bowl. "Where do you want to go? Think about it carefully over the next few days and let me know. I'll arrange your accommodation and a private car." With food in her mouth, Shi Yao nodded her head vehemently. Also, tell me your identity card number so that I can book the plane tickets." Shi Yao didn't say a word as she munched on her food. Instead, she nodded her head like a little chick pecking at grains. Lin Jie put down his chopsticks earlier than Shi Yao, but he didn't leave. Instead, he sat across the table and continued accompanying Shi Yao. Along the way, Lin Jie picked up his phone to play with it. It was hard to tell what he saw, but his complexion suddenly turned awful, just like when he was looking at his laptop. Shi Yao didn't ask what was wrong with Lin Jie, but from the tightness on his lips, she could tell that he was in a terrible mood. She didn't ask too much about the reason behind her actions. All she knew was that she just wanted to cheer Lin Jiej up. So, after eating, she pondered for a moment before suggesting to Lin Jiej that they should go watch a movie that was recently released, and it was said to be particularly hilarious on the internet. Lin Jiej didn't turn her down. He passed his phone over to Shi Yao to book the tickets, and after she was done choosing her seat, he took the phone and paid for it. Shi Yao chose the cinema in Lin Jiej's neighborhood. As it was close to the cinema, the two of them walked there. The first thing Shi Yao did when she arrived at the cinema was to run to the counter and buy popcorn and a Coke. Shi Yao had bought the tickets just in time, so by the time she was done buying food, it was already time to enter the cinema. Entering the cinema, Shi Yao held onto a popcorn that was twice the size of her face. After checking the seats, she ran over and found her in Lin Jiej's seats. After sitting down, Shi Yao barely had a few mouthfuls of popcorn before the movie started. Initially, Shi Yao was still watching the movie earnestly, but 20 minutes into the movie, she realized that Lin Jiej, who was seated beside her, was actually playing with his phone, and from time to time, he would frantically type on the keyboard. She was to cheer him up, so she suggested watching a movie, but he wasn't in the mood. In an instant, Shi Yao also felt that the hilarious movie had suddenly become boring. Even though she was staring at the big screen in front of her, she was still keeping an eye on Lin Jiej from the corner of her eye. Shi Yao wasn't too sure how much time had passed, but just as the movie was about to come to an end, the phone in her pocket suddenly vibrated. She from, and AAA, and he Yao. As she was watching a movie, she didn't pick up the call. Instead, she hung up the call and replied, "I'll call you back later." Chapter 587. Shi Yao had always thought that it wouldn't be a big deal for He Tiantian to look for her, but never in her wildest dreams did she think that it would really be a big deal. She dialed He Tiantian's number, and it only rang for half a ring before the other party swiftly picked it up. "Yao Yao, something big has happened. Something big has happened." He Tiantian had always been a fussy person, screaming for a long time when she couldn't find her phone. Shi Yao was already used to it, so she replied calmly, "What happened? Did you lose your meal card, or did you eat all the money in it?" "Shi Yao." He Tiantian's furious roar sounded from the other side of the phone. "All right, I'll stop talking. I'll listen to what you have to say." Seeing that Shi Yao had obediently shut up, He Tiantian finally got to the point. "Yao Yao, you've been on the school forum again. Furthermore, the situation this time is much more serious than before. But that's not the main point. The main point is that the person who leaked the news is a real name." On the other end of the phone, He Tiantian fell silent for a moment before replying, "You should know who the person who leaked the news is. It's Qiniran. I don't know how she managed to get her hands on the evidence of you entering and exiting the high-class residential area, but I don't know who it was who told her that you haven't returned home for the past month. Our dormitory has done a good job in keeping this matter confidential, but somehow it was leaked out. On top of that, there's video evidence of you entering and exiting the high-class residential area more than once, causing a huge uproar in the school. When we went to the canteen in the afternoon, everyone was talking about you being a mistress. If there's nothing important, I think it's best that you don't return to the school anymore. However, this isn't the most serious issue. There are plenty of female students who move out of the university, but if this matter were to be blown out of proportion, it could create a bad atmosphere in the school. Who knows, the school might even punish you." In that short instant, Shi Yao recalled the abnormal reaction she had when she woke up and saw Lin Jiej. A slight frown appeared on her forehead as she subconsciously asked, "Then, did Lin Jiej post anything on the school forum?" "He Tiantian, of course there is. Senior Lin stood up for you a long time ago, and he even said that you were staying at his place. However, Qiniran insisted that she saw you entering that high-end residential area with a plump and old man, and she even took a photo of it. As such, no one believes Senior Lin's words anymore. On the contrary, more and more people are saying nasty things about him, and even Senior Lin is being ridiculed." It was no wonder why Lin Jiej had closed his laptop so quickly. It turned out that he didn't want her to see those worrisome things. No wonder he wanted to take her to Chengdu. He wanted to wait for the storm to calm down before letting her return to school. A hint of warmth surfaced in Shi Yao's heart. She tightened her grip on her phone as she replied softly to He Tian. All right, I got it. I'll take a look at the school forum later. It's one thing for you to watch, but Yao, you mustn't get angry. On the other end of the call, He Tian stuttered, as if she still had something to say. What's wrong? Tian, if there's anything on your mind, just say it. Chapter 588. After all, it's a very embarrassing thing to be beaten up. This way, Nuanyuan won't be able to lift her head high either. Hearing those words, a sharp glint flashed across Shi Yao's eyes, and the previously adorable look on her face vanished. She replied to He Tian with a slightly cold, got it, before hanging up the phone. Without any hesitation, Shi Yao quickly opened up the website and logged into the school forum. Just as He Tian had said, gossip regarding her had already occupied the entire first page of the forum. This time, Qiniran wasn't using her previous sock puppet account. Instead, she had registered a new one, and her name was Qiniran. Amidst the comments, Shi Yao first clicked on the thread that Qiniran had posted. Hello everyone, I am Qiniran. The reason why I'm standing here today to expose this matter is partly to seek revenge, but more than that, I want everyone to see the truth. There were several videos below, and they were all of her entering and exiting Lin Jie's high-end residential area. In the videos, she was dressed in different clothes, which meant that they were taken at different times. In the last video, she was talking to a middle-aged man as they entered an elevator together. Shi Yao didn't know the middle-aged man at all, but she did have some impression of this person. That day, when she returned home from school and entered the elevator with him, he said that he didn't know how to use a smartphone, so he politely asked her a few questions. Naturally, she didn't think too much about it and helped him. From the looks of it now, this middle-aged man was probably Qiniran's handiwork. The questions he asked were fake, and the photos he took were the real deal. Shi Yao silently pressed her lips together for a moment before continuing to read the rest of the book. What the heck? This is so exciting. The girl who rivaled campus Adonis Lin in last year's sports meet actually became a sugar daddy? Indeed, one can't judge a book by its cover. The more beautiful a girl is, the more coquettish she is. Even though Qiniran's behavior was really shameless last year, I believe her since she reported it with her real name this time around. However, I won't stand on either side of these two girls. I'll just watch them hurt one another quietly. Amidst the row of gossip, roasting, and self-righteous criticism, Shi Yao finally saw Lin Jie's reply. My fiancé is staying at my place. Is there a problem with that? In the first place, Qiniran's exposure of her real name had already increased everyone's credibility, and now that her evidence had been laid out in an orderly manner, Lin Jie's words seemed to pale in comparison. It wasn't that there weren't any spectators who were curious about the fact that she and Lin Jie were engaged, but more of them thought that Lin Jie was foolishly protecting her. How do you explain that, uncle? Look at the video, they were clearly talking and laughing. Don't say that they were just asking for directions, I don't believe it. Senior Lin, we all know that you are very outstanding, but the price of that high-end residential area is not ordinary. I doubt that you have a home there. Adonis Lin said last year that he kissed Shi Yao before, which means that there's some sort of relationship between them. Could it be that Adonis Lin is embarrassed that he's being cuckolded, so he's not trying to help Shi Yao but trying to salvage his own reputation? Haha, love is a ray of light, so green that you're panicking. Chapter 589. How is Lin Jie a cuckold? The person who said those words is the one who's a cuckold. His entire family is a cuckold. Shi Yao glared angrily at the green grass emoticon on the screen for a moment before scrolling down the screen to check out the comments. She flipped through several pages before she finally found the news regarding Lung Wan that He Tian had mentioned. Qiniran, there's one more thing. A friend of mine told me about it, and it's true. It's Shi Yao's roommate, Lung Wan. Last year, when she just entered year 1, she was crowned as the belle of the faculty. She got drunk at a karaoke, and she took advantage of the alcohol to provoke a few wealthy scions in the capital. She wanted to pick them up at the airport to curry favor with them, but she ended up being despised by them. Yet, she refused to let them off, refusing to leave. She doesn't have the slightest sense of shame, and she was even slapped multiple times by them. Shi Yao's eyes turned cold as she read the last part of the post. There were still many replies to this piece of news. Are you for real? Is she really that unrestrained? She's really living up to the saying, birds of a feather flock together. And the second saying, one is marked by the company one keeps. Are all the girls in her dorm room such trash? They're either a sugar daddy, or they're just going to be slept with. How shameless. The girls in her dorm room, trash. As such words fell into Shi Yao's eyes one after another, she clenched her fists so tightly that her lips were pressed into a straight line. If Qin Iran found her an eyesore, she could target her, but how could she implicate her friends in her? The word fiancé didn't appear in Shi Yao's mind, so she forcefully suppressed it and changed it to Linjiej instead. They're innocent. Since Qin Iran is so heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. The netizens on the forum were just here to watch the show. Even if their mouths were so cheap that it made one want to slap them twice, there was no way she could really drag all of them out to settle the score. However, Qin Iran was different. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao immediately took out her phone and sent He Tiantian a message. Can you think of a way to help me ask Qin Iran out to the back of the dormitory building right now? There's a small forest with no one around. He Tiantian swiftly replied to her message. I know Han Jing's roommates, and one of them seems to be on good terms with Qin Iran. I'll give it a try. Shi Yao didn't respond to He Tiantian's message. Roughly 5 minutes later, He Tiantian sent her another 2 messages. Yao, Qin Iran has agreed to it. She'll be heading to the forest in around half an hour. But Yao, why did you lure Qin Iran out? I should have a good chat with her about life. Shi Yao replied to He Tiantian's message as she snuck out of Lin Jiej's house. When Shi Yao reached the entrance of her neighborhood, she boarded a cab, and after making her way back to school, she took out her phone and sent a message to Lin Jiej. I have some matters to attend to, so I'll be heading back to school first. After sending the message, Shi Yao knew that Lin Jiej would surely give her a call, so she quickly sent He Tiantian another message before switching off her phone. By the time she arrived at school, there was still roughly 10 minutes before the meeting time with Qin Iran. Shi Yao wasn't in a hurry to head to the forest, so she made a detour to the school infirmary first. Chapter 590. By the time Shi Yao arrived, it had already been half an hour, but Qin Iran still hadn't arrived. Shi Yao casually found a tree and leaned against it, waiting patiently. Roughly 8 minutes later, under the illumination of the streetlights, Shi Yao saw a gorgeously dressed Qin Iran walking over from afar. Did she think that a guy from my class had invited me out to confess his love to me? It's already late at night, and she even put on some makeup. It's already autumn, and she's wearing such a short dress? Shi Yao assessed Qin Iran from afar for a moment before retracting her gaze calmly. Soon, Qin Iran walked into the forest. The light in the forest was rather dim. After taking a few steps, Qin Iran saw that there was no one around, so she began calling out the name of a guy from her class. Songlin? Songlin? Songlin, are you here yet? Shi Yao didn't rush to respond. It was only after Qin Iran had called out a few more times that Shi Yao finally straightened her back and walked out from the darkness. Hearing footsteps, Qin Iran turned around to look at Shi Yao. As Shi Yao was standing against the light, she wasn't able to see Shi Yao's appearance clearly. It was only when Shi Yao walked up to her that she stared at Shi Yao in disbelief and asked, "Why are you here? Wasn't Songlin the one who invited me out?" As Qin Iran spoke, she scanned her surroundings. A gust of wind blew, and the rustling of leaves echoed in the forest. It was only then that Qin Iran realized that there was no one else in the forest other than the two of them. She wasn't a fool, so it didn't take long for her to realize what was going on. A second later, she met Shi Yao's eyes once more and said, "It's you. You tricked me into coming here, right?" Qin Iran had always hated Shi Yao. She was the one who had exposed her true colors to everyone in G University, the one who had stolen Lin Jiej's heart, the one who had won her the title of Campus Belle, and the one who had put her in such a difficult position in G University. She was no longer the same as before, when all the girls were envious of her and all the boys chased after her. As such, when Qin Iran finally understood what was going on, her eyes that were glaring at Shi Yao turned a little sharper, and even her tone became much more domineering. "Shi Yao, what do you intend to do by inviting me to the forest tonight?" Shi Yao didn't say a word. Instead, she continued staring at Qin Yiran intently. Qin Yiran had a feeling that Shi Yao had invited her over because of the forum, so she immediately put on a non-negotiable expression and said, "If you're here because of the forum, let me tell you this. There's no way I'll accept a private settlement." Before Qin Yiran could finish her jia, Shi Yao, who hadn't said a single word ever since Qin Yiran appeared, suddenly raised her hand and delivered a tight slap to her face. Shi Yao's slap came out of nowhere. Qin Yiran was completely dumbfounded. There was a short period of silence in the forest. Only then did Qin Yiran realize what was going on. She raised her hand to her throbbing cheek and glared at Shi Yao as she exclaimed, "Are you insane?" Right after she said those words, Shi Yao raised her hand once more and delivered another tight slap to her face. Chapter 591. This was the first time that Shi Yao had ever had such a disagreement with another person. Not to mention hitting people, even cursing rarely happened to her. However, she was smart enough to have witnessed Sis Jai beating someone up with her own eyes, and she had also witnessed Qin Yiran kneeling on the ground in fear of Sis Jai, trembling in fear. Thus, she understood the importance of maintaining one's presence at a moment like this. But at the same time, she also knew that Qin Yiran had only been caught off guard. Once the latter regained her senses, she would surely come to blows with her. Both of them were girls, so their strength wasn't too far apart. But if they were to really come to blows, she might not be able to escape unscathed. Thus, after Qin Yiran was done speaking, Shi Yao immediately delivered a few more slaps to the latter's face. After that, without giving Qin Yiran any chance to react, Shi Yao grabbed her hair and dragged her to the ground. Then, disregarding everything else, she started kicking her. Shi Yao's actions were executed in a single breath. By the time Qin Yiran realized what was going on, she was already pinned under Shi Yao's body and pummeled furiously. As such, the only thing she could do was protect the area where she was being pummeled while screaming, "Stop! Don't you know that this is against the Academy's rules? If I were to report you to the Academic Affairs Office, you'll be punished." Ignoring Qin Yiran's words, Shi Yao continued hitting Qin Yiran until she had vented her anger and felt that it was about time. However, she was still cautious, fearing that Qin Yiran would pounce on her if she released her grip on Qin Yiran. Thus, she held Qin Yiran down tightly and glared at her fiercely before speaking up. "You said that I lured you out to talk to you about the forum?" "Qin Yiran, I'm telling you right now that you're wrong. I didn't lure you out with any other intentions other than to beat you up. That's because I think that it's impossible to reason with a person like you who spouts nonsense and distorts the truth. Since it's impossible to reason with you, why should I waste my breath on you? What's the saying again? If you can fight, don't make a ruckus. I've seen many people without a bottom line, but I'm the first one to see someone as brazen as you. If my baby doesn't show off, you'll think I'm a teddy bear." Shi Yao glared at Qin Yiran, and her tone became even sharper than before. "The reason why I'm doing this today is to let you know that it's fine to provoke me, but you'd better be able to bear the consequences of doing so." Right after Shi Yao said those words, she heard heavy footsteps coming from the forest. Without any hesitation, Shi Yao abruptly let go of Qin Yiran. Having been pinned to the ground and pummeled for so long, Qin Yiran was currently seething with rage. It was just a second ago that Shi Yao had released her, but in the next second, she pounced on Shi Yao like a hysterical lunatic, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws. "I'm not done with you. Teacher, listen. There's a sound there. It's right there." Before Qin Yiran could finish her words, a female voice sounded from outside the forest. Following that, the heavy footsteps followed the source of the voice into the forest. Someone had brought a flashlight with them and was shining it around the forest. When the light shone on Shi Yao and Qin Yiran, Shi Yao immediately crouched down and feigned extreme fear. Trembling in fear, she covered her head with her hands and cried out in panic, "Don't hit me! Don't hit me!" Chapter 592. Overwhelmed by rage, Qin Yiran couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her surroundings. As soon as she saw Shi Yao crouching down, She immediately charged forward. Just as her hand was about to touch Shi Yao's body, someone spoke up with a stern and authoritative voice. Stop. Following that voice, He Tian immediately ran over upon seeing Shi Yao cowering on the ground. Qin ran. What are you doing? Without any hesitation, He Tian pushed away Qin ran, who was about to hit Shi Yao, before squatting down and walking up to Shi Yao. Yao, are you all right? Shi Yao didn't say a word. Instead, she hugged her head and shuffled to a darker corner. Seeing Shi Yao's reaction, He Tian glared at Qin Ran furiously and bellowed. Qin Ran, what did you do to Yao Yao? How did you frighten her to such an extent? Hearing those words, Qin Ran sneered coldly. What did I do to her? Are your brains filled with sh*t? Which eye of yours saw what I did to her? She was the one who did it to me, all right? It was only at this point that Qin Ran noticed that there were a group of people standing by the side. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, but she knew that they were all students of G University. However, there was a middle-aged man who was holding a flashlight among them. Qin Ran recognized him. He was the head of G University's Academic Affairs Office. Qin Ran's domineering aura instantly dissipated by half, following which, tears welled up in her eyes, as if she had suffered a huge grievance. She turned to the head of the Academic Affairs Office and said, Head, you came at the right time. Head, do you know that I was intending to look for you? Head, look. As she spoke, Qin Ran lifted her long hair and pointed to her face. Look at my face. This is her, Shi Yao's masterpiece. It's her. She tricked me into coming to the forest and beat me up without any hesitation. After saying those words, tears began flowing down Qin Ran's cheeks in large droplets. Head teacher, the academy has its own rules. Those who engage in brawls will be punished. Head teacher, you'll have to deal with this matter. He Tian, head, you can't just listen to Qin Ran's side of the story. You have to listen to Yao Yao's side of the story as well. Besides, I was the one who saw Qin Ran asking Yao Yao out, and I was reminded of the recent commotion on the school forum, so I followed her out of worry. It was then that I heard the sounds of fighting inside, so I ran over to look for you. You saw it too when we came in earlier. She was the one hitting Yao Yao, and look at how frightened Yao Yao is right now. Seeing Yao Yao being asked out by her, He Tian's words had stabbed right into Qin Ran's sore spot. Bullshit. She was the one who tricked me into coming out. The director of teaching didn't say anything but coughed heavily. It was only then that Qin Ran realized that she had overreacted. She quickly suppressed the rage in her heart and put on an aggrieved look as she said, Department head, it's not like that. She's lying. Shi Yao was the one who tricked me out. Chapter 593. That's right. Qin Ran replied He Tian's words without any hesitation. She was just about to say that's right, but before she could finish her words, He Tian seemed to have suddenly recalled something, and she muttered, that's not right. That shouldn't be the case. After all, in order to maintain good conduct, our school has a rule that forbids boys and girls from going on a date in the middle of the night. I don't think Senior Qin would do such a thing. After all, wearing such a short skirt to meet a man on such a cold day is really a little perverted. Before she could finish her words, He Tian realized that she had gone too far, and she quickly scratched her head in embarrassment. Dean, I'm sorry. I was just spouting nonsense. Also, Senior Qin, I'm sorry. I apologize to you here. I shouldn't have said that you went on a date with a man in the middle of the night. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Having been interrupted by He Tian's words, Qin Ran didn't dare to continue speaking the truth. Indeed, if He Tian hadn't brought it up, she would have forgotten that the school did have such rules in order to maintain good conduct. But the truth was that she had been tricked out by Shi Yao, and she couldn't say that it was Song Linhao who had asked her out to testify for her. So, everything had been arranged by Shi Yao in advance? Was she really going to have to swallow this humiliation? But if she wasn't going to eat it, what else could she do? Shi Yao had a witness who said that she was the one who called her out, but she didn't. Seeing Qin Ran's silence, He Tian couldn't help but ask curiously, Right, Senior Qin, what were you going to say before I interrupted you earlier? It seems to be What is it? Senior Qin, why aren't you saying anything? Senior Qin. Qin Iran ignored He Tiantian's repeated questions and turned to the Dean of the Academic Affairs Office. Dean, regardless of how Shi Yao and I ended up in the forest, it's a fact that I was beaten up by Shi Yao. Surely you can't just stand by and do nothing about it? The Dean of the Academic Affairs Office turned to Shi Yao and asked, Student Shi Yao, say something. Did you really hit Student Qin Iran? Shi Yao seemed to be terrified by the Dean's words. She shrunk back a little before shaking her head and timidly replying, No, Director, she's lying. She might have suffered a loss because of the person who invited her out, but it was a fact that Shi Yao had assaulted her, and there was no way she could escape from it. Thus, she wouldn't let go of this matter. Beating up another student in the academy was punishable by punishment. Not only that, it would also affect her postgraduate fellowship, Excellence Award. Of course, she'd also be reported to the academy. By then, the entire academy would know that Shi Yao had beaten her up. All she had to do was to pitifully leak a small rumor that Shi Yao had beaten her up in a fit of rage due to the matter on the forum. After accusing Shi Yao of lying, Qin Iran immediately spoke up. Department head, Shi Yao is lying. She's the one who hit me, and there's only the two of us here. I can't possibly be the one who hit myself, right? Chapter 594. Qin Iran was so furious that her chest was heaving up and down. Nonsense. You're spouting nonsense. You. Compared to Qin Iran, who was on the verge of stomping her feet in anger, Shi Yao maintained her meek demeanor. I'm not spouting nonsense. Head, it's really as I said. I didn't hit her. The one who hit her was herself. Qin Iran roared in exasperation. Shi Yao, you slut. Hearing those words, Shi Yao cowered behind He Tiantian in fright. He Tiantian glared at Qin Iran in displeasure. Head, look at her. She dares to scold someone right in front of you. The head of academic affairs also spoke up in displeasure. Student Qin Iran, please watch your words. Qin Iran opened her mouth furiously, but before she could finish her words, the head of academic affairs had already interjected. Student Qin Iran, don't say anything for now. I've already roughly understood the situation on your side. I need to understand the situation on Shi Yao's side first. After saying those words, the head of the Academic Affairs Office turned to look at the trembling Shi Yao. Perhaps it was due to Shi Yao's pitiful appearance, but not only did the authoritative voice of the head of the Academic Affairs Office lose its previous authoritative tone, it even lowered slightly. Student Shi Yao, feel free to tell me everything that happened. As the head of the Academic Affairs Office, I won't malign any student, but of course, I won't condone any student either. All right, head. Shi Yao nodded politely to the head of academic affairs before continuing. Earlier tonight, Tian and I went to the supermarket, and on the way there, we bumped into Senior Qin. She was the one who forcefully brought me here. She threatened me with the matter regarding the forum, saying that as long as I gave her 10,000 renminbi, she would delete those posts on the forum. She even said that she was making things up, but I didn't agree to it because those posts on the forum aren't true. I retorted to her, saying that she's too despicable, and that's when she started beating me up. The heck? When did I say those words? When did I ask you for money? When did I threaten you? Shi Yao, you slut. You're slandering me. You. Qin Iran had completely lost her rationality. The head of education glared at Qin Iran in displeasure, and with a frightening voice, he bellowed, Student Qin Iran. Qin Iran immediately shut her mouth, but due to her rage, her chest was heaving up and down non-stop. The head of the Education Bureau turned to Shi Yao. Only then did Shi Yao continue speaking. Head, I'm really not lying. Everything I've said is the truth, including what I said earlier about Senior Qin hitting herself. I told her that I'd tell her teacher about it, so she slapped herself harshly twice. Then, she told me gleefully that if I had the guts, I'd tell her that I should tell her teacher about it. She also said that both of us have been beaten up, which means that we fought each other. When the time comes, I'll tell my teacher about it, and if anyone were to be punished, it'll be the both of us. Chapter 595. What Qin Iran wanted to say was, Where did I hit you? But before she could finish her words, Tiantian, who had been silent all this while, suddenly rushed up to Shi Yao and asked, Yao Yao, what happened to your face? Yao Yao, why is your face so swollen? As Tiantian spoke, she suddenly realized something and glared at Qin Iran fiercely. Qin Iran, aren't you a little too vicious? How can you do that? You. Being criticized for no reason, Qin Iran frowned in bewilderment before turning to look at Shi Yao. As she turned her head around, she was intending to finish her words, but in the instant that her gaze fell upon Shi Yao's face, her eyes widened in shock, as if she had just seen something inconceivable. Shi Yao's face was terrifyingly swollen, as if someone had slapped her hard. There were also 2 areas on her neck that were swollen, as if someone had pinched her with their fingertips. Not only so, her clothes were torn in 2 places, and there was a deep cut on the side of her thigh that was dripping with blood. When Qin Iran saw this scene, Tiantian also noticed it. There's also her neck. Qin Iran, did you grab Yao Yao's neck? There's also her leg. Why is there so much blood? It's no wonder Yao Yao has been covering her head all this time. It's no wonder she's so scared. Head teacher. When the head teacher saw Shi Yao's bleeding leg, his expression immediately turned stern. Qin Iran, do you have anything else to say for yourself? Hearing the head teacher's words, Qin Iran blinked her eyes, recovering from Shi Yao's sudden appearance. She still couldn't believe what she was seeing. She stared at Shi Yao for a moment longer before speaking. How could this be? How could this be? Indeed, what was going on? She clearly didn't touch a single finger of Shi Yao's, so how did she end up in such a state? What do you mean by how could this be? What nonsense are you spouting? Shi Yao's face was so swollen that it was hard to look straight at it. Anyone would think that Qin Iran was lying to them. After all, no one would go so far as to injure themselves in order to gain the confidence of others. Furthermore, when everyone arrived at the scene, the first thing they saw was Qin Iran intending to beat Shi Yao up. Thus, putting all of these together, no matter who it was, they would think that Qin Iran was lying. Qin Iran, your actions are simply too vile. It's one thing for you to get into a brawl in school, but to even threaten a student's money? I'll report this matter to the higher-ups of the school and have them deal with you accordingly. After saying those words, he turned to Shi Yao and said, Student Shi Yao, don't worry. We'll deal with this matter seriously. Also, you and student Shi Yao live in the same dormitory, right? I'll have to trouble you to help Shi Yao bandage her wounds now. Tiantian immediately replied obediently, Yes, department head. I'll be leaving with Yao Yao now. There are so many people here, and Yao Yao. The Dean of Academic Affairs looked very understanding. He waved his hand and gestured for them to leave quickly. Chapter 596. The moment she walked past the head of the Academic Affairs office, a cold glint surfaced in Shi Yao's timid eyes. Doesn't Qin Iran like to distort the truth and slander others? Fine then. I'll let her have a taste of how it feels to be slandered. The current Shi Yao must be feeling wonderful, right? It's one thing for her to not be able to vent her anger after being pummeled, but she even had the tables turned on her instead. It's a pity that I can't become a roundworm in her stomach and see how she looks like when her heart breaks down. But just thinking about it alone, it's really cool and satisfying enough to vent my anger. Shi Yao, has never been soft-bun. She's never bullied others or been bullied, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't know how to retaliate after being bullied. In truth, she didn't want to be so ruthless either, because this was the kind of method she hated the most. She loved living a simple and beautiful life, but there were some people who would do everything in their power to destroy your simple and beautiful life. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being merciless. Just as she said, if Qin Iran dared to provoke her, she should be prepared to bear the consequences. Of course, she didn't come here just to vent her anger. It wouldn't take long for the incident to spread across the entire G University. By then, everyone would know that Qin Iran had used the forum incident to force her to pay up, and after a disagreement with her, she even beat her up and slapped herself twice in an attempt to cover up her actions. With that, the credibility of the news that she had exposed on the forum would be greatly reduced. After all, How could the words of such a vile person be trusted so easily? Even if some people might find it hard to believe, given that the video was out there, the matter of her being a mistress would be covered up by Chiniran's incident tonight. Just like in the entertainment industry, the best way to cover up a scandal was to expose another scandal. Chiniran only had herself to blame for this. She was the one who started it, so naturally, she had to cover up her own scandal. With such thoughts in mind, Yao's lips couldn't help but curl up slightly. She wouldn't let her off even if she bullied her. How dare she implicate her friend and Lin Jiej? If she, Chiniran, was smart, she would learn from this lesson and learn to behave herself. But if she were to be stubborn, she would just have to make life difficult for her in the future. Heh. Yao sneered coldly in her heart, but before she could finish her words, a huge car suddenly drove over from afar. The headlights of the car shone directly on her and He Tian, and the glare was so blinding that they couldn't open their eyes at all. What's going on? Why would such a big car drive into the school in the middle of the night? Amidst He Tian's sarcasm, the car stopped right beside her and He Tian. The car door opened and several people jumped out. Yao and He Tian didn't recognize any of them, but out of curiosity, they couldn't help but take a few more glances at them. After those people got off, they went around to the back of the cart, opened the back door, and began to move things out from inside. What the hell is he doing? Yao? He Tian couldn't help but lean over and ask curiously. Yao shook her head in bewilderment. Just as she was about to reply to He Tian with I don't know, another person suddenly jumped out from the car. Chapter 597. With just a single glance, Yao blurted out doubtfully, Lin Jiej? Why is he here? Following Yao's frown, He Tian, who was supporting her, released her fingers from Yao's arm sheepishly. Then, she shifted behind Yao and said with feigned calmness, Yao, perhaps Senior Lin has a telepathic connection with you, and he knew that you were here, so he rushed over. Before He Tian could finish her words, Yao had already turned around to shoot her a glance. He Tian immediately put on a smile and changed her words. All right, it's Senior Lin who called my dormitory room. You should know that he's my Adonis. I've always been a person with backbone, but as soon as he spoke, my backbone betrayed me. Out of curiosity, Yao asked casually, what did he say that made you spill everything just like that? He Tian scratched her head and said, he said, hello, I'm Lin Jiej. May I ask if Yao has returned to the dormitory? Yao. She felt as if a layer of chocolate had been smeared over her face, causing it to darken. If you're a pervert, then so be it. Why did you say that your integrity betrayed me? Yao harumphed in her heart. Tian, you're a rainbow candy. He Tian. What do you mean? Yao, you're a pervert. Ridiculed, He Tian couldn't help but smile at Yao. She was just about to say something coquettishly, but before she could, she caught sight of another person jumping out of the car behind Lin Jiej. So, she quickly grabbed Yao's arm and changed the topic. Yao, look. Senior Lu is here too. He's here too. Yao looked in the direction that He Tian was pointing, and she saw Lu Binlai in a pink hoodie standing behind Lin Jiej, who was dressed in a white shirt. This boy, who liked to be cold and warm, always wore clothes that were similar to soft drinks, all kinds of clothes that were suitable for girls and boys. He was really coquettish, while Yao was silently retorting in her heart. The head of the academic affairs office walked out of the forest with the girls that He Tian had called over, as well as Chiniran. Lu Binlai was the first to speak up. Nice to meet you, head of the academic affairs office. Upon seeing Lin Jiej and Lu Binlai, the head of education administration halted his footsteps and asked, Jiej, why are you here? Lin Jiej politely nodded to the head of academic affairs and said, I'm here to settle some matters. Lu Binlai quickly interjected, Indeed, Director Zhang. We're here to settle some matters, so we'll have to trouble you to wait for a moment. We'll be done with those things very soon. Dean of Academic Affairs, what are those things? Lu Binlai, Director, you'll know soon enough. Amidst the conversation between Lu Binlai and the head of the Academic Affairs office, Lin Jiej turned his gaze to Yao, who was standing a distance away. Under the dim yellow light of the street lamp, he stared at her from afar for a while before he strode over to her. He Tianyang grabbed Shi Yao's arm tightly and said, "Yao Yao, Senior Lin is here. I know that he belongs to you, but I still feel like I'm going to faint from his handsomeness." Why? Before He Tian could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already walked up to her. He Tian hurriedly shut her mouth and greeted, "Hello, Senior Lin." As she was Shi Yao's roommate, Lin Jiej didn't dare to show any disrespect. He first greeted He Tian with a hello before turning to look at Shi Yao. Chapter 598. It was a distance away, and the streetlights weren't bright, so Lin Jiej wasn't able to see Shi Yao's condition clearly. It wasn't until he was standing right in front of her that he realized that her face was badly swollen. Lin Jiej's face immediately darkened. "Did she hit you?" Lin Jiej's voice didn't carry the slightest hint of the nonchalance and leisurely tone he had when he was talking to He Tian earlier. On the contrary, there was a sharpness in his voice. Frightened, He Tian immediately let go of Shi Yao's hand, pointed to a familiar student beside her, and slipped away. "Did she hit you?" As Lin Jiej asked, his gaze began scanning Shi Yao's entire body. When he saw the wound on her leg and the holes in her clothes, innumerable emotions began churning in the depths of his eyes. Without waiting for Shi Yao to speak, he turned his gaze to the crowd standing by the side, and when he caught sight of Qin Yiran's silhouette, he immediately began walking toward her with widened strides. But barely after he took 2 steps, Shi Yao suddenly grabbed his hand and said, "Lin Jiej, calm down. Don't be rash." At this moment, she was the weaker party, but she had the upper hand. If Lin Jiej were to do anything to Qin Yiran in a fit of rage, the situation would turn around. Not to mention, it wouldn't look good for a man to hit a woman. Afraid that she wouldn't be able to hold on to Lin Jiej, Shi Yao stretched out her other hand and wrapped it around Lin Jiej's left arm, placing her entire weight on him as if she was hugging a bear. "Lin Jiej, don't go over." Her voice was soft, and there was a hint of pleading in it. Lin Jiej immediately froze in place. Suppressing the rage in his heart, he turned his head to look at her shameless actions, and he didn't know whether he should laugh or cry. In the end, Lin Jiej still went along with Shi Yao's wishes and said, "All right, I won't go over anymore. Let go of me first." Shi Yao raised her head and observed Lin Jiej's expression for a moment. After confirming that he wasn't lying, she finally let go of his arm. Lin Jiej turned around to face Shi Yao and asked, "Other than these wounds, are there any other injuries?" Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head. "And nothing." Lin Jiej scanned Shi Yao from head to toe, and after confirming that there weren't any other wounds, he took out a clean handkerchief from his pocket and squatted down to bandage the wound on Shi Yao's leg. "This wound shouldn't be touched randomly. We'll be exposed. Whose family did he belong to? Why are you siding with an outsider?" Shi Yao abruptly moved her leg away from Lin Jiej's side. Lin Jiej thought that Shi Yao was afraid of pain, so he said, "I'll be gentler. Don't you know how to treat the wound now? It'll be troublesome if it gets infected. Infect an ice cream ball." It was impossible to be infected. However, there were many people around and they weren't far away. If she told him the truth and someone heard it, wouldn't it be a big problem? Yet, he was so insistent on treating her wound. Lin Jiej was definitely here to drag her down. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao's eyes darted around for a moment before she reached out to Lin Jiej, who was squatting in front of her, and said, "Hug." Shi Yao's actions left Lin Jiej completely dumbfounded. In a moment of desperation, she seemed to have resorted to a terrible move. With so many people watching, if Lin Jiej were to refuse her blatantly asking for a hug, wouldn't she be making a fool out of herself? Chapter 599. Shi Yao's voice jolted Lin Jiej out of his daze. He didn't know why she would suddenly do such a thing, but her hug had melted his heart. In that instant, he lost all of his will to resist. Even if she asked him to brave a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, he would do it without any hesitation. He didn't hesitate, or rather, his mind was blank. He didn't think of anything and just stared at the fair hands that she stretched out towards him. He slowly stood up and pulled her into his embrace. When the two of them finally got close to each other, Yao tiptoed over to Lin Jie's side and whispered in his ear, "I'm telling you, don't touch the wounds on my body. There are too many people here, and there are too many eyes staring at us. It's not convenient for me to tell you everything, but you must remember that we're a family. You mustn't ruin my plans and drag me down." After saying everything that she wanted to say, Yao turned to Lin Jie and asked, "Did you hear me?" Her soft body was in his arms. She stood on her tiptoes and whispered gently into his ear. Her breath was constantly on his neck. She was overestimating his self-control a little too much. He heard everything she said, but he couldn't think about what she meant at all. Seeing that Lin Jie wasn't responding to her, Yao urged him once more, "Did you hear what I said?" Lin Jie remained motionless, not responding at all. Yao couldn't help but pinch his waist. In an instant, Lin Jie's entire body felt a slight pain mixed with a tingling sensation. Reflexively, he grabbed Yao's hand and slowly turned his head to meet her eyes. In just a few short seconds, his gaze had already fallen on her lips. He could clearly see the urge to kiss her in his heart, and he tried his best to suppress it. Using a lot of strength, he finally gave her a light nod and replied with an before quickly averting his gaze from her lips. Seeing that Lin Jie had finally responded to her, Yao's worried heart finally calmed down. She took a step back, intending to leave Lin Jie's embrace. The boy abruptly increased the strength of his fingertips and tightened his grip on her hand that was pinching his waist just now. Yao subconsciously exerted more strength in an attempt to break free, but Lin Jie showed no signs of letting go. While the two of them were caught in a stalemate, Lu Binlai suddenly spoke up, "Boss, the assembly is done. Come over and take a look." Lin Jie replied with an "oh" as he continued holding on to Yao's hand. He stared into her eyes for a while longer before turning around to leave. He walked up to a machine that had been assembled from the contents of the cardboard boxes and examined it for a moment. After confirming that there were no problems with it, he turned to Lu Binlai and nodded lightly. Receiving his signal, Lu Binlai immediately turned to the head of academic affairs and said, "Head, it's like this. This is the latest model of lie detector, and its accuracy is as high as 100%. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.